Blessed day, family. Wholeness and balance. One love. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Should start this off with a little smudge blessing, probably. Let's see. Greetings, Space Cowboys. One love. Wanted to hop on here and kind of offer virtual free clinic. So just to, start, let's, got a little mugwort here. We'll do a little smudge blessing. Bless my words. Bless all of you all. May this small offering be of benefit to you. Gosh, it's not lighting very well. I dedicate all my efforts to the well-being of all beings, the liberation of all beings. Anyway, little mugwort blessing. Give thanks for another day. I want to also just mention that none of this should be construed as medical advice. Just want to serve my community with my love and knowledge of herbs and share with you some of the things I've been doing. So first of all, let me show you some of the veterinary herbalism I'm doing right now. My dog Shadow, this is my dog Shadow, and you may be able to see his foot here. And it was really nasty yesterday. He, poor guy, he can't help himself. He loves to chase cars. And so he's also kind of a wild one. We found him in the hills, and he had been living on his own for a while, and doesn't really take to me treating him with herbs. He's always on to me every time I try to help him with something. He goes running. So I tried to put a comfrey compress on him, a poultice, and he just ran away right away. So what I've been doing, I'll show you what I'm making right now for him, is a nice tea of some good healing herbs. We got here some organic calendula. I didn't grow enough this year, but this is really nice, pretty nice calendula. And then we also didn't harvest enough yarrow, but I got this from Herbs Etc. They're in Santa Fe. That was started by Michael Moore, famous, wonderful herbalist. Some plantain leaf. So plantain is really good for healing all manner of wounds, kind of gently. Yarrow is a little bit more aggressive for healing wounds and is really great for, blood building. I would put more comfrey in his tea, but I ran out of what I grew, so I have to get some more of that. And then calendula, of course, is really good for healing wounds. And I think it's both the comfrey and the calendula have like a chemical that helps regrow cells and stuff. So I'm just boiling some water now. Gonna put a little bit of herbs in there. Greetings, those of you who just joined, welcome. Just gonna toss these on here, and yeah, just offering myself to y'all. Show you some of the stuff I'm up to here in the kitchen. Besides what I'm doing for my dog, every day I make tea for my wife and I. At the beginning of the day, I'll boil some water, and we put this with some of our superfoods. So for her, I made her goji berry with her moon tea blend, which is like tulsi and raspberry leaf and nettle leaf, and there's like rose petals and mint and lemon balm. And some, I think she has some self-heal in there, some prunella. And for myself, I just made goji berry tea with orange peel and rose petal And then I'm going to put that on. Hey there, John. One love, brother. And every day I make myself a power shake from the superfood company I work with. This is full of all kinds of nice wild herbs and superfoods too. It's got like alfalfa and grass juice and spirulina and a bunch of good stuff, and some aloe digest. This has aloe and like coconut, and some green spectrum, which this is just more good greens. Greens are great for cleansing the blood and building the blood. Ooh, better turn this down. Got kind of carried away. Add those other herbs too. I just put a couple pinches of each of these herbs in the tea for Shadow. And even though he won't let me treat the site specifically, it just getting into his bloodstream can help. It doesn't have to be, right where the injury is. Hey there, Isabella. One love, sister. Some more of my Purium family. So now I got this. I'll just let this steep and brew for Shadow, and I'll try to splash some on that wound that he has. But I've heard of people using like plantain, for instance, this Plantago Major. Of course, it's out of season right now because it's all wintry outside. But I've heard of this one veterinary doctor who is also a naturopath herbalist, treating all manner of like brown recluse wounds, viper wounds, things, rattlesnake bites for dogs and for people, and really gently heals, sort of from the inside out. So just been enjoying digging in on herbalism. Just had a class last weekend on herbal energetics and understanding how we need to address people's unique tissue states and conditions, their unique genetic history, their unique, temperament and mentality, and where they are kind of spiritually and psychically as well as physically, and not get away from this mentality with herbalism that this is good for that. Calendula is good for healing skin. It's good for a lot of things, and as my teacher would say, better to know the 40 uses of one herb than the one use of 40 herbs, because herbs have so many benefits, and also to know those herbs very intimately, so you know their thermal properties. For instance, people may use, it's very common now, like ginger shots, or people taking ginger or turmeric for inflammation or just for digestive complaints. But if you had like, acid reflux and kind of like a burning sort of stomach issue, you wouldn't want to use turmeric or ginger, because those are both warming herbs, and they would cause the conditions to not be, helped. What you want to use is antipathy. You would want to use something more cooling, like aloe. Aloe's got that demulcent mucilaginous quality, and so it can be more soothing to the endothelial cells of the digestive tract. Hey, there's Perry. One love, brother. What's up? Great to see you all here. Yeah, so just, want to offer myself in case any of you all have any questions about herbs, and share this knowledge about, our uniqueness and the uniqueness of herbs and the way we can use them for specific conditions, and taking a look at it from the standpoint of tissue states. So tissue states, you're looking at cold versus hot. You're looking at lax versus tense, and you're looking at moist versus dry. Because you can also, another maybe example would be, say you have a respiratory condition, like a hacking dry cough, where you cough and cough but you can't like get anything up. and it's just like really irritating and kind of hot. You wouldn't want to use a warming herb like osha in that instance. People here in northern New Mexico love osha for so many things, and it's great. It has a lot of applications. It's a wonderful, amazing herb, but not so good in that case. You would want a more demulcent respiratory herb, once again, like licorice root, which will soothe and moisten that cough and start to get it to be more productive. You know, there's also things like cherry bark, that's a little bit more neutral, and so just want to raise awareness about that. Barry says, "What's up, bro? What's up, Barry? Having a beautiful day here. We got some snow the other day. It was pretty cold this morning. It was like 12 degrees, but the sun came out, so in usual fashion I'm using the sun as medicine. You can get a lot of healing just from getting out in the sun. The healing energy of UV and of infrared is amazing, and even getting the sun on your eyes, like sun gazing, or even just being out in the sun like this, stimulates the rods and cones to process stress hormonal chemicals, and so it physically heals you and spiritually heals you, or mentally heals you as well. And that whole thing of the time of year, in terms of this whole thing of energetics. John says hydration. Yes, hydration. I like to work with the elements of earth, wind, fire, and water with this conversation about energetics, but also with personal healing. You wanna get, like he also says, by the red light. You want to get that fire element, whether it's the sun or some infrared sauna, or actually even like there's an Ayurvedic practice of a meditation where you just watch a fire, and the red light coming off the fire and what it does for your mind as the flames sort of dance, can be kind of hypnotic, but you're also getting this infrared, a little bit of infrared from that, because it's in the wood is the solar energy trapped, and when you light it on fire, it's just kind of released. But so you want to work with fire, work with grounding. I'm always barefoot, as much as I can, even in the winter. I like to get out and ground, and we've had some big solar storms lately. There was quite a few CMEs that popped, and some spikes in the Schumann resonance. And one of the best ways to mitigate that, the effect on you biologically and psychically, is to ground. So I like to work with earth, but also the herbs of the earth, or foods of the earth. I'm definitely all about that liquid, hydration, liquiditarian path, of course, but just getting and raw vegan, but also just getting, if you're into just whole food. I don't really think that dietary dogma helps our community out. I think it's a way in which division is created. So I just really am a proponent of whole foods, particularly plant-based, but if you're growing organic, natural, whole foods. And we all have this unique, genetic history and a unique amalgamation of the elements of earth, wind, fire, and water. So I'll get back to that point in a minute, but this whole thing of working with earth, wind, fire, and water every day. So every day I also do breath work. I get that air, and I get out in the open air and let that heal me. And there's different herbs that are going to correspond to all this too. Like you have herbs that are water herbs, things that are going to be effective to your kidney, liver, and urinary tract, that sort of the waters of your body, whether they're going to tone and strengthen them, or help you release excess water, relieve blood pressure, some of those kinds of things. You can also use warming herbs like the ginger, or the turmeric, or the chili to warm you up. So if you're working with raw foods, for instance, in the winter time when it's 12 degrees out, you might want to incorporate, more of those warming herbs, some chili, some ginger, some garlic, some of those pungent herbs, and we can understand the herbal benefits of different plants based on the flavors of salty, sweet, sour, pungent, and bitter. Sweet is nourishing and building. Salty is kind of like grounding. So salty can be more than just like table salt, that can be things like nettles. Think nutrient rich, earthy flavors, spinach, uh, um, oat straw, um, comfrey. These kind of things are really mineral dense, so that's also sort of building, but particularly of your bones and your skin and all tissue. And then you have the pungency that is going to increase and improve circulation and digestion. Bitter is digestive. Every time you get that little shudder, that's actually your vagus nerve being stimulated to put energy down into your gut. And sour is astringency, so that's gonna relieve excess water. So anyway, you got the 5 flavors, you got the 4 elements. Want to get out, you want to get that hydration, you want to get in the sun or experience some fire or light. That can also be like your ATP or your prana in your moving through your body. You have each cell has 0.7 volts, and you have 50 trillion of them, so that's 3.5 trillion volts that run through your body. So you want to develop the prana, or the chi through things like qigong or meditation, grounding, sexual temperance, those kind of things. Earth, wind, fire, water, air, and air, breath work, exercise, things like that. That's some of the dailies that I work with, and the different elements balance each other. And in Ayurveda they talk about the dosha types of kapha, pitta, and vata. And kapha is earth and water, pitta is fire and water, and vata is air and ether or space. So that can be like the endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph typology, where you have some people who are tall and thin, and maybe mentally they might be a little more spacey, a little very intelligent, but kind of their mind is like the wind; it goes all over the place. Pitta is more like your athletic build, warm constitution, great digestion. Kapha is going to be kind of heavier set, or bigger boned, dark eyes, dark hair, kind of oily skin or hair. Those can all be like sort of signifiers, but we all have all 3 doshas in different preponderances. So some people may have a dominance of pitta or vata or 2 doshas, and it's very rare, but it does happen that some people have a balance of all 3 doshas. So just bringing into awareness and attention the fact that we all have this uniqueness, and that also changes through the year. So now that it's cold outside, I'm actually working with a little bit more broths, things like miso soup, that I just like stir in some miso and maybe some ginger and garlic powder, and some soy sauce, and I'll have that. I'm still doing fresh pressed juices, but I just noticed how cold it makes me, and so I've been working with a little bit of that, a little bit more, chai tea. So being aware that this changes throughout the year, throughout your life, and that we want to embody health, and that this path toward prana and to wellness is, we got to fix our eyes on health and not on any, I've been a raw foodist for 12 years or longer, 13, 14 years, and it's been amazing, and I've been a liquidarian now for about 6, it's been an amazing path. But bringing in this awareness is what got me there. And there was a time when, in my early raw food days, that I was working, with eating. I was eating pretty well. I was eating smoothies and salads and stuff, but got into a lot of vegan sweets because I got a sweet tooth. And everything in those days, you'd have a lot of stuff that wasn't soaked and sprouted in terms of nuts, which nuts have phytates that are demineralizing. They'll actually take nutrient out of your body. And agave nectar, which agave nectar is basically like high fructose corn syrup. It's a super shock of blood glucose. Oh, I'm getting a call. Here, I'm gonna get back to that call, and I'm gonna wrap up here in a second. So whatever the case, I started to have cavities, and I went to the dentist, and he was like, "All right, we gotta deal with this. We're gonna have to drill and put in some fillings, and I don't want mercury in my body. I don't want the amalgam. All that stuff is toxic, like the glues that hold the amalgam in, and mercury, of course, not so great for your neurological system." So I just studied up, and I started working with goat milk kefir, and I'd eat salmon a little bit. And I only had to do that for like 2 or 3 months, but having more coconut oil, and making sure I just kind of stayed away from sweets for a while. Less honey, maybe just a little bit of maple syrup, because maple syrup is more nutrient dense, mineral dense. And 2-3 months healed my teeth up, and then I went back to being raw vegan. But I wasn't so dogmatic that I wouldn't be flexible, and that I knew that I wanted to heal myself with nutrition and not with conventional, Western pharmaceutical medicine. It's interesting. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." But he also said, "Never use cutting or poison to heal." And if you look at our pharmaceutical industry, it's 9/10 cutting and poison. Rarely does a doctor even regard nutrition, though that's changing. There's a lot more doctors into functional medicine, a lot of doctors becoming more hip to things like fasting and nutrition and nutritional awareness and herbs, and so that's inspiring to me, because it wasn't that way before. And that reminds me of another phrase with respect to the breatharian lifestyle, and moving along on that, that comes from the Taoist tradition, and they would say that medicine is not as good as food, and food is not as good as qi. So, really all foods and herbs have some toxicity to them. And if you lean on them too long, you'll develop, an over-toxicity of them. That can be anything from, like comfrey, for instance. It's really good for healing bones, really good for remineralizing the body. But if you take it too long or too much of it, it can negatively impact your liver, or you can start to develop kidney stones. So that's something to be aware of, Or even kale, for instance. People love kale in the raw food community, and eating a lot of raw brassicas, and they have all manner of, wonderful benefits, anti-cancer, full of, wonderful trace minerals like sulfur and copper and things that you really need. But they also contain goitrogens that inhibit your thyroid's functioning. And so they can disrupt your endocrine health, and your sort of hormonal health. So, just things to be aware of. And there are herbs in the Taoist tradition they talk, and this is why I love working with the superfoods and tonic herbs, is because there are certain herbs and foods that are, like in the Taoist tradition, they have the herbs of the earth, the herbs of man, and the herbs of heaven. So the herbs of the earth you can use for acute conditions to heal specific things. The herbs of man are things you can lean on more regularly and tend to be kind of more like nutrition. And the herbs of heaven are only going to strengthen different bodily systems, tonify them. They tend to be immune modulating or adaptogenic. and they have different organ affinities. Like cordyceps is, has an affinity for the lung meridian in the lungs. Reishi has a affinity for your immune system and is, has this immune modulating aspect. Or things like you know there's so many that my mind's kind of reeling. Shazandra berry that has like all 5 flavors, and things like reishi and ginseng and shazandra tend to build all 3 treasures of qi, jing, and shun. So jing is like the candle, qi is like the flame, and shun is the light that comes off the flame, or your spirit. So you're nourishing, uh, you know, the 3 treasures. They're food grade, and that's what the Taoist adepts use to go to the Bigu state, or the breatharian state, where they'd live in the mountains, they'd practice qigong and meditation, and they'd work with these, herbs of heaven like goji berry and ginseng and reishi and, hoshubu and all these wonderful herbs. There's also corollaries around the earth. There's things like ashwagandha, there's things like tulsi, plants that grow here, things even like simple Prunella vulgaris self-heal is highly adaptogenic, highly food grade, heals wounds and cuts, and, does a whole bunch of stuff, and is really gentle and lovely. So, just kind of going off here, unless anyone has any questions. Just wanted to bring these concepts of working with the elements of earth, wind, fire, and water, being attentive to your unique constitution and temperament, and the fact that you can use herbs and foods to balance your body and your mind. Of course, most of that work is going to be done through the mental, through meditation, through having a positive mentality, but also interacting with the elements of earth, wind, fire, and water, and just having this. It's just been a joy and a wonderfully fulfilling meditation to learn about these elements. And that word Jehovah that's Yod He Vad He, which means earth, wind, fire, water. So these are essentially the energies of God that influence our wellness, our well-being, our consciousness, our health, and are present in. I see them in the garden. I see them in people as I'm trying to work with helping treat people. Speaking of that, I'm having 2 classes coming up in December. I'm going to do one on nervines and adaptogens for relieving stress, because there's so much stress in the world right now. We're also moving into the holiday season. People stress out, and you can use nervines, which are, things like skullcap and vervain, and, even cannabis or hops, or there's a wide variety of nervines, and there's nervine relaxants and nervine stimulant, and stimulants and nervine sedatives and nervine trophorestoratives. So the trophorestoratives actually rebuild the myelin sheathing of nerves and neurons, and heal the nerves, because their nerves are like the wires of the chi, like the electrical wires that the energy runs through, and that feeling of being fried, burnt out, that's actually your nerves have literally been fried by this enormous electricity of kundalini running through your body. So we'll work with those. We'll talk about adaptogens you can use, and some practices to help relieve stress during this time, because we're also all connected. The stress that is building, if we can resolve it in our own selves, in our own families, we're actually influencing the whole collective, and we could, draw down the tension in the world through drawing our own tension down and taking that responsibility and dedicating that work to other beings. So, and then the next class we have coming up after that is I'm going to do a wild food pop-up, where I'm just going to make some stuff you can buy from the grocery store, but things that are wild, It'll be vegan, be some consciously cooked, some raw, and we'll make some healing herbal teas and some delicious raw adaptogenic herbal desserts, and just kind of treat you to a sort of a three-course meal of herbs with hors d'oeuvres, and then a big meal, and then some dessert. And then I'm also gonna start offering free clinic once a month, where I've probably, as an herbalist, I've been studying herbs for like 12 or 13 years, and I've actually probably helped more people through my superfood business with their health than I have with herbalism. I've taught a lot of classes, I've studied so much, I've treated my own family, treated myself, but I'd like to get more experience, and I'd like to offer myself my effort, in the same vein of dedicating my efforts towards the benefit of all sentient beings in the broader community. So if you have some ailments that you are working with and you'd like to come get free clinic, it would be, I think it's going to be at the end of the month, the last Saturday of December, this month, and then I'll do it every month after that. And I'm only going to take 6 people, because I want to give everybody enough attention to do a good job, and 6 people, that's going to take me 3 hours, so just want to let you be aware of that. You can hit up our website, www.ziapermaculture.com, if you're interested in checking out our events or getting on our newsletter, or hit me up here on Instagram if you have any questions or anything. I'd love to help. Hit me up for a raw vegan superfood cleanse. It's great to. I suggest to everyone do a cleanse at the change of every season, at least once per season, and that can really protect you from illness. So, anyway, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I hope you got something from this. Sending you all the blessed. Have a beautiful day. One love, and be well.